Oh, Santa, I can't wait for you to come. I just can't wait for you to come. And I've got cookies, 3 yummy cookies. Just for you for when you come, only for you for when you come. Because it's Christmas.
Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to Basting with Blender, the one episode show where no basting of any kind will be involved, but since it's still a better sounding title than Blending with Blender, we'll stick with that. Anyways, this holiday season we'll be baking off some of Larry the Cucumber's Christmas cookies from the ever so classic silly song, Oh Santa. Now this is a very long and complex process, especially if you have no prior experience in baking like myself, so please, bear with me and pay close attention. Now we're going to start off by getting ahead of ourselves. Crack 2 eggs into a measuring cup and wash your hands afterwards. You don't want to risk H5N1 right now. We'll get back to that later. Next, we're going to take out our mixer and throw in 3 softened sticks of salted butter. Make sure to take the butter out of the fridge the night before. If the butter's still not soft enough by the time you start baking, just lightly knead them until they're soft. Anyways, add 1.5 cups of sugar and start up the mixer. Change the speed setting to 4 and let it mix nicely for about 2 minutes until it's nice and smooth. Next, we're going to carefully pour the eggs into the mixing bowl and start the mixer at a slow pace so the eggs don't splash. As they start to get more mixed in, we're going to slowly start increasing the speed on the mixer. We'll stop it every now and then to scrape down the batter on the sides of the bowl and get it all to the bottom. Then we're going to start the mixer at the maximum speed, being, once again, 4. After a couple more scrape downs, stop the mixer when the batter starts to get, to paraphrase a Danish prince, light and fluffy. Next, we're going to add 2 tablespoons of vinegar and start slowly mixing it in, once again stopping it at least once to scrape the batter down, and now with a much sturdier rubber spatula. Please don't use the type of spatula I used beforehand. Slowly increase the speed to 6 this time. After around a minute to a minute and a half of mixing, we're going to stop the mixer and get out a separate bowl. In this separate bowl, we'll be putting in 3.5 cups of flour, followed by a 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg, and we will blend those together well with a fork. Next, we'll be putting in a teaspoon of baking soda in a tiny little bowl, then we'll splash it with a little bit of warm water and mix that together well. Make sure it's all dissolved. We're then going to start the mixer at a slow pace and alternate between pouring a little bit of the wet baking soda and scooping in the flour/nutmeg mixture. Once all the flour, nutmeg, and baking soda are all inside, stop the mixer and scrape the batter down again. Then start the mixer again at a speed of, you guessed it, 4. We'll blend that for about 25 seconds, then we're going to stop it and remove the whisk and bowl from the mixer. Now doesn't that just look delicious? No, actually it doesn't. There's raw egg in there. Scrape as much of the dough as you can from the whisk into the bowl, then scrape down the sides one final time into a giant ball, cover the bowl with some plastic wrap, and leave that bowl in the fridge for a few hours. Or overnight if you're making it late in the day. After a few hours, or the next morning, we're going to set the oven to 350 degrees convection bake. Take the dough out of the fridge and unwrap it. As you'll notice, the dough is hard as a rock. Dump a few scoops of flour into a small bowl, then take a good pinch of it and sprinkle it all over the countertop. Because the dough is really hard right now, make sure to get a good grip on it when you take it out of the bowl. We usually use all the dough when making our cookies, but for simplicity's sake, I'll just use about 1/3 of the dough and refrigerate the rest later. Take a couple pinches of flour and work it into the dough until the dough is in a nice ball. Now we'll press the dough into the floured countertop, then move it around to spread the flour so it doesn't stick. Take out a rolling pin and roll out the dough evenly until it's about 1/4 inch thick. If the dough sticks to either the rolling pin or the countertop, sprinkle some more flour on the dough and/or the countertop for good measure. And now it's time for cookie cutters. Yes, it's the part of the video where we get out the cookie cutters shaped like stars, bells, and Christmas trees. Cut out 2 of each of the 3 shapes and place them on a cookie sheet. If you run out of room to cut on the dough you're using, roll the leftovers into a ball and roll it out again. Now unfortunately my ball of dough had gotten soft by this point, so if that happens, just grab another chunk of dough from the bowl and do the same. Now let's finish with the bells. Now this was actually the only cutter I had to buy specifically for this video. Turns out we never really had any need for bell-shaped cookies. Now that that's done, place the tray in the oven for about 8 to 9 minutes. Once we take these mighty fine looking cookies out, we're going to place them on a cooling rack and wait for them to cool for about 30 minutes. While we wait for that, let's move on to our icing. Shout out to John Cannell for this recipe by the way. Link in the description. First we're going to scoop 1 cup of icing sugar into a bowl. Now the only reason I'm using 2 half cups is because I had already used up all the full cups. Then sift it with a small whisk. Add 2 teaspoons of light corn syrup and a 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla extract before mixing it all together with another sturdy rubber spatula. While we mix it, we'll add a tablespoon's worth of water, 1 splash at a time until the desired consistency is reached. Then add a few drops, say around 3 to 5, of green food coloring and mix it in. Now the food coloring I used was looking a bit yellowish, so I mixed in some drops of blue food coloring until it had a nice light green tone. Bear in mind you'll have to do this process twice, one for the green icing and one for the pink icing. It's basically the same but with red food coloring instead. Once again, mix it all together until you have a fairly decent pink color. Actually, I should probably add a little more blue food coloring. There, now that's a nice green. Now we're going to take some multicolored sprinkles, some brown chocolate flavored sprinkles, and some shiny purple ball sprinkles and put them in individual bowls. Now I wasn't able to find any individual packs of purple balls on such short notice, so we had to make do with a big tub of assorted sprinkles. Once you're done picking out all of the individual purple balls, place a sheet of parchment paper on the countertop. Now for the icing process itself, we're going to take both of each individual shape. Let's start off with the trees. Get a couple butter knives and spread the green icing across the tree-shaped cookies. Sprinkle the multicolored sprinkles evenly while only putting around 4 to 7 chocolate sprinkles on each cookie. Place those on the cooling rack and do the same thing with the other two shapes, only this time with pink icing, and of course, the other butter knife. For the bells, we're going to sprinkle the purple balls semi-evenly. Now that all our cookies are fully decorated, we're going to wait a few hours for the icing to harden. Alright, it's been about 3 hours, so to cap it all off, I'm gonna get out a little Christmassy plate, place one of each shape in the same order as in the song, and now we have a nice, delicious little plate of Christmas cookies. Now for the taste test, and it turned out surprisingly good. Not too bad for my first time baking. Well, thank you all for watching. Special thanks to my mom for helping out with all this, and if the IRS plans to come to my door tonight, I'm ready to... What? Yeah? Uh-huh. Ah, yes, that's right. I keep forgetting the IRS has no jurisdiction here in Canada, so the joke doesn't really work. Ah well. Merry Christmas, everyone.